For the sacred assembly and holy meetings, return the wonderful Dharma Realm to teach us how to live suffering and can please and birth and death, and quickly realize number.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto suchedoye olahudi sanmyao sanputoshi.
Namo saranto suchedoye olahudi sanmyao sanputoshi.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture today. My name is Hung Shur. Today is Sunday, October 3rd here in Queensland, Gold Coast. It is Saturday evening, October 2nd, back in California. And we're going to be looking into the Flower Garland Sutras, 10 stages chapter. We're reviewing our translation. We're reading for meaning, reading for language, reading for another, the word is review, to look at it one more time, to see if we can't get more out of it, having been all the way from first stage to the 10th stage. Now we're back to the first stage to look at the foundation of the Bodhisattva path. With that in mind, there we are. We're going to request, we're going to invoke spiritual presence, invite the Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to draw near. And we do that with this request. So this is, we do it in Chinese with a banjo. So don't hesitate to put your palms together and join us as we make our request. Let's see now. Actually, we're losing because of the way the software, let's see, if I do it that way, big enough, that way you can see the whole slide. I'm running out of screen real estate. So ready? Oh Thank you for that. Now, we are doing something we haven't done before, which is listening to the sutra as literature. So Buddhist texts as literature, Buddhist scripture as literature, which means what? We're listening to the sounds. We're listening to the language of our English translation. We're listening to the ideas that emerge from our reading. And because we have a 3-language lecture series going on, we have a simultaneous translation into Chinese Mandarin, and we have a simultaneous translation into Vietnamese as well. So we read it in Chinese as well. They say in the tradition, yin shui si yan. So when you drink the water, you recall the source and how grateful we are to have water to drink, how grateful we are to have Buddha's wisdom in English to listen to. So we acknowledge the source. We read it in Chinese first. We have we're in the first stage out of 10. This is the foundation of the Bodhisattva path. And my goodness, my experience the last couple of weeks we've been doing this is all kinds of gaps in tradition. The bodhicitta doesn't appear in other parts of our Buddhist family, or it's not emphasized. Here, it's called the most precious of things. And it's simply a thought. That's the amazing part. It's so consequential. It is the turning point from everything that has come before in Buddhist practice to everything that is coming after, this Bodhi Resolve. And when I'd heard about it before, it seemed kind of abstract to me. I didn't really grasp it until I did what's called decoding the Dharma, which is our bigger project these days. Our founder, Master Cheng Guan, spent 30 years of his life presenting us with the scriptures of the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha's words, every night for 90 minutes without fail, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. He couldn't have been more emphatic in saying, you want this stuff. This is the gold. This is the stuff you came for. This is the good stuff. You want it. So please, I'm handing it to you with both my hands and giving my life to this process. Please accept it. Please take it and then make it yours. That's the key. Don't leave it in the Chinese. Don't add some patina, some thin layer of respect that keeps you from picking it up and walking with it. Master Hua could not have been more respectful to the sutras by having us request Dharma that we just did. That's a sign. That comes right from Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. You Qing Zhuanfa, when you ask for the Dharma to flow from the Buddha's time, it's always been that way. But that's an outer show of an inner attitude, which is, this is wisdom. I really want to understand it. I really want to understand it. That's what matters more than there are many traditions in the school of sutra lecturing that Master Hua didn't give us. I'll give you an example of one. I have attended the lectures of very traditional Tiantai school sutra lectures in the strictest of tradition. And there's a little plate, like a teacup saucer with a cloth, a pre-wetted cloth there, like a washcloth, but it's all wet and folded up. What's it there for? In case I should touch my face, I can't touch the sutra until I wipe my fingers on the cloth, right? That's otherwise disrespectful. You know, if I just scratch my head and if I touch, but of course, there's no book here. It's a computer. So what do I have? I can't touch the computer keys until I wipe my hands off. Okay, so I get the point. That's respectful to the extreme. Master Hua gave us the middle way. He said, you should learn every bit of it and then adapt it to your situation. And as soon as the custom obstructs the flow of people who want to hear the wisdom of the Buddha, adapt that to the side. You don't need those customs unless they actually serve the communication. So he was everything about communication, mostly the language. So here we are, we've translated the sutra. We're trying to make it connect, because why? Here, let's just use the Bodhi Resolve as the example. This putishin bodhicitta, this idea. I didn't get it at first because Master Hua's traditional interpretation of it was the one that's been handed down from generation after generation, which is what? What is the Bodhi Resolve? Shang Cheng Fo Dao Xia Hua Zhong Sheng. So we are decoding the Dharma. Shang Cheng Fo Dao means up there somewhere, Shang, there is a Buddha, and I want to become one. And somewhere down below, somewhere down there, there are living beings, and I'm going to hua them. I'm going to teach them, transform them. So above, become a Buddha, below, transform living beings. And that always like, don't get it. That didn't make sense until just a few years ago. It made sense to me that instead of it being directional, it's temporal. It's not space, it's time. It's not up there and down there. The Buddha is not in heaven. Living beings are not below. In fact, they're all in the mind. Fo, Xin, Zhong Sheng, San Er Wei Yi. The Buddha, the mind, and living beings are 3 in 1, kind of like mystic sweet communion with God, the 3 in 1 that I heard about in church. So, what do we say now? Having decoded the Dharma, what we say now is, ultimately, the Bodhi Resolve depends upon my appreciation of the fact that I have the Buddha's wisdom innate. Don't lack it at all. It's not that I am deficient in Buddha's wisdom. It's what I haven't done with it, which is learn to operate it. And the living beings that I'm going to teach, I do immediately. So it's ultimately and right this minute. My goal is to realize that Buddha's wisdom that I have full measure of somewhere in there that I've covered over. And the road to uncovering it has to do with teaching living beings, further decoding of the Dharma needed. What is a living being? Well, as Master Hua gave it to us, it was my laziness. One of my worst character flaws, as Master Hua was consistently pointing out, was what he called 拖泥带水, me being postponing, being one who was dilatory in my sense of time. I put stuff off. I postpone things. I don't get to them. And as a result, things fall off. So he said, that's a bad habit. That's a living being who you have not crossed over. Teach that living being and you're closer to Buddhahood. Oh, that's the Bodhi Resolve. Okay, so the idea is, it's 2 questions. It's what is my potential and how do I realize it? Your potential is wisdom. You realize it by uncovering that wisdom that's innate. What covers it over are living beings. What are living beings? Bound up in birth and death, habits, wrong views, attachments, emotions, desires, ignorance, ultimately, things that cover me over. So that's it, embedded in this simple idea is lots of worldview right there. The idea that the Buddha is not far from us. The Buddha is inside us. that wisdom is available. It's supremely democratic. It is absolutely, as I say, no exceptions to the Buddha, that wisdom, that potential for awakening. So nobody lacks it. So all we have to do is find a way to uncover it. And that way to uncover it are what are called the 6 paramitas and the 84,000 practices that are all there to scrape off, peel off, steam off, dissolve the coverings over my Buddha nature. Okay, that's the idea. Other members of our larger Buddhist family don't talk about that. You won't find lots of talk about the Bodhi Resolve in the Pali Suttas. Not that it's absent, but it's not emphasized. So what do they talk about? They talk about liberation from suffering and nirvana. You want to leave as soon as you can. And that's good. That's, my God, if only, you know, how lovely, my Buddha, if only we could get liberated from suffering. But today's lecture, what I want folks to do as I read today is I'm going to ask you to listen for the Bodhi Resolve popping up in this first description of the Bodhisattva's path. And also, another important point, as I read, I'm going to read a portion that I read last week because it's too important. It's really important. I'm going to ask you to listen for character formation. So in our sutra, Flower Garland Sutra, it spends an awful lot of time talking about personality, who we are as people, deeply, not just the superficial layer of kind of, you know, attitude. It's not that. It's who we are as people and how we qualify for the Bodhisattva path, should we want to do that, who we have to become, talking about character, talking about the way we approach the world, the way we approach our relationships, the way we approach our family, our teachers, our community, our national leaders, the way we approach use of materials, how much is our rightful share? All of this is what the sutra points to as not only kind of good to know, but essential. This is the heart of it, according to what? The Avatamsaka Sutra, the Flower Garland Sutra. You want to wake up and be a Buddha? Here's how. Pay attention to those living beings that we are going to cross over. So that was such a shock to me when I finally connected with that, because why? Buddhist sutras were presented as philosophy. And what was philosophy? Philosophy was, maybe you took one course in your undergraduate career, Introduction to Philosophy, and it was Hegel, and it was Kant, and it was Wittgenstein, and it was Hume talking about big ideas. And a lot of the language was hard to approach, and it seemed kind of sterile, and it seemed only for eggheads, right? If you were aiming to become an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer, philosophy was for those folks on the other side of campus. So it wasn't a living tradition. It was for an elite. And to somehow throw Buddha sutras into that category indicates to me that you haven't actually read a Buddha sutra. No surprise, to read a Buddha sutra, what do you need? Mostly, you need Chinese language, you need Korean language, Japanese language, Tibetan language, Sanskrit language, Pali language, right? You needed Mongolian even, but not English, until Master Hua arrived in the US and said, this is too important. We're bringing Buddhism to the West. Don't take it from me, take it from the Buddha. And then he would spend 90 minutes of every night giving us the Buddha's voice and saying, after he was done, anybody have a question about what I've just said? Did you understand all of that? And then he would call out somebody, hey, Guoyo, hey, Guozuo, he would say, what did you understand? Shifu, yeah, I think it's this. Oh, you do? What do you all think? Was he right? You know, Shifu wanted us to engage. He wanted us to make these sutras something that lit a spark in our own intellectual curiosity, so that we actually thought about them when we weren't sitting in full lotus or half lotus or no lotus under his gaze. He wanted us to take them to sleep with us, to wake up with the same questions. Whoa, how could the sutra, what is the Bodhisattva? So it's not quick. It's kind of like growing a garden. It percolates down through the soil of the mind ground, and when the time is right and the sun is warm and there's abundant moisture, compassion, waters of great compassion, these seeds arise. So that's what I want folks to listen to today. Two things. One, listen for the Bodhi Resolve referred to. Two, listen to how important is personal character in what the sutra says bodhisattvas do. Right? So far, so good. Here we go. This is it. That's too small. So I'm going to make it bigger. Make it bigger. There we go. Right. Scale it down, scale it up. Here we are. There it is. Okay. Now, if it just sounds familiar, it's because we looked at it last week, same section, but I want folks to hear it with those questions in mind. Okay, here we go. 佛子慈菩萨以大悲为首，广大智要，无能俱坏，缓更勤修一切善根而得成就。所谓信增长故，多尽信故，结清净故，信决定故，发生悲悯故，成就大慈故，心无疲懈故，惭愧庄严故，成就柔和故，敬顺尊重诸佛教法故，日夜修集善根无厌足故。Here it is. Here's our English. Listen here. Disciples of the Buddha, these bodhisattvas take great compassion as foremost. They have vast, great intent and inclinations which nobody can diminish. They diligently cultivate their wholesome qualities and bring them to accomplishment. This happens because they increase their faith and augment it, because they purify their understanding, make their faith decisive, become sympathetic, accomplish great kindness, have no weariness of mind, and because repentance and reform make them majestic. They become soft and compliant. They respectfully heed the Buddha's instructions. They cultivate and accumulate wholesome qualities day and night without fatigue. All right. Now, I went to another mentor who is Master Cheng Guan, known as Qingliang Guoshi, Master Cheng Guan of the Tang Dynasty, National Master Clear and Cool, who is also has another name, which was Avatamsaka Bodhisattva, remarkable monk who was in the 10th century. So we're 1100 years ago. And he said, I wrote it down, looking at this passage, he said, that here we are. Dum dum dum. Dum dum dum. Hold on. Looking for it. Okay. Here it is right here. They never get tired of it, so they cultivate without pause. He says, this is the important part. He says, this is the heart of this first stage. As the Bodhisattva, having made the Bodhi Resolve in his heart, sets out on the path. They never get tired of it, so they cultivate without pause. All right, let's put that under the microscope here. This, as we read the Avatamsaka, this popped out. This was key. Master Cheng Guan says, this is the deal. Probably anything in the world that you want to get good at, you have to do it a lot. Let's say you are perfecting your short game at golf. You go out in the evenings with your chipping iron, with your chipping wedge. You go out with your pitching wedge. You go out with your 9-iron. You go out with your putter. And you spend 2 hours. And after those 2 hours are done, you have practiced 60 pitching wedges onto the green. Maybe you have a municipal course nearby where nobody worries if you kind of haunt the green as other people play through other foursomes, right? So when nobody's coming, you're out there chipping, pitching, and then putting it in the hole, in the cup. So it takes 2 hours once, and when you're done, your hands are puffy because you've been holding that club. You've got a head start on calluses because you've been practicing your short game at golf. And if you do that a lot and a lot, pretty soon your handicap drops, right? Your golf score is, you're out of the hundreds, you're down into the 80s, for 18 holes of golf. So why? Because you worked at it. Same with tennis, same with swimming, same with piano, same with preparing for an accountancy exam. You're going for your accreditation as an accountant. You have to work at it, you have to work hard, right? So the Bodhisattva, as he or she is now on what is called the stage of happiness, the ground of happiness, they are intaking Dharma. They're learning Dharma. Because why? This came true, this came real for me, clearly, as the essential. In that Bodhi Resolve formula, you want to accomplish your potential, and to do it, you have to understand what living beings, you have to understand your own habits that take you away from the truth, from your mind, and obstruct you. You have to be smarter. You have to understand, you have to thoroughly get the motives that stimulate our bad habits. So what do you do? In order to do, that verb is called hua, to change, to teach living beings. What do you need? You need tools, techniques, methods. You need Buddha Dharma. The Buddha's own methods are ones that worked for him as he cultivated a way, going from Prince Siddhartha to Gautama the Buddha, Shakyamuni the Buddha. So where do you learn about those? You learn about those from studying sutras, from drawing near teachers. You listen to people who know the mind and know how to move a bad habit back to no affliction, back to natural. This worldview assumes that there is a natural medium where the mind is healthy and functioning. That's why it's not accurate to say Buddhism is nihilistic or negative or pessimistic. It's not. The Buddha is the most mentally healthy living being. This is Mental Health Month in Australia here in Queensland. And you don't have anybody who's got more balanced views and is more resilient and healthy than an awakened living being, an awakened human. So there is a standard, and it's not nothing. It's not an extinction the way poor translations of nirvana would give us to believe. So we have a very healthy human being, a Buddha, who has gotten there by teaching living beings, one by one by one. Give an example, arrogance. He softens arrogance. Low self-esteem. He bolsters low self-esteem, brings it back to clear appraisal of your identity. What's another one? Pride. The Buddha has dealt with pride. He was a prince. He was the top of the world, and he had to temper that so that he saw he was not better than other living beings, nor was he less. He didn't have an inferiority complex either. So all of those extremes, arrogance, timidity, pride, low self-esteem, inferiority, all get brought back to mental health from the Buddhist point of view. And when this is translated, when it's presented to mental health professionals, they're so thrilled because, my goodness, here is a methodology for dealing with mental illness from 2,500 years ago, passed on through generation after generation after generation after generation of people who picked it up and used it, who then found themselves mentally resilient, healthy, bright, cheerful, responsive to the day, right? I have not met a lot of, in my nearly 50 years of experience in the Buddhist community, the men and women who sustain their lifestyle in the Sangha are almost to a person happy hearts, happy souls, people who are not depressed, people who are not misanthropic, right? Hating the world, not at all. They're cheerful, stable, grounded, and survivors, able to bounce from the winds of fate, vicissitudes. That's not the word I want. They respond to the ups and downs of the world with resilience. So that's I think an important point, is when we talk about teaching living beings, the second half of the Bodhi Resolve, we're not talking about producing pieces of wood, blocks of wood, people who are unemotional, who are distant. They haven't abandoned the world, seeking nirvana, right? So interesting, huh? How that works. Resilient people who are cheerful. There is a standard for mental health implied by this description of what a bodhisattva is looking for here at the start, the very beginning of the bodhisattva path. All right, more. Next, coming up. Listen for what? Listen for mention of the Bodhi Resolve and methods for getting there, training, techniques for doing the second half, teaching living beings. Okay, listen in for that. And we're going to come down to the highest, most supreme way. A lot of Chinese coming up here. Listen in. Here we go. 亲近善知识故，常爱乐法故，求多闻无厌足故，如所闻法正观察故，心无异着故，不单着礼养名闻恭敬故，不求一切资生之物故，生如宝心无厌足故，求一切智地故，求如来力无畏不公佛法故，求诸波罗蜜助道法故，离诸严谄狂故，如说能行故，常护食语常护食语故，不然如来家故，不舍菩萨戒故，生一切智，心如山王不动故，不舍一切世间事，成就出世间道故，其诸菩提分法无厌足故，常求上上殊胜道故。There. Did it? We did all that. Said it. Now, okay. This is again, what are we about to hear? Listen carefully. This is the recipe for what a bodhisattva needs in order to enter the classroom for the first stage bodhisattva, the stage of happiness. This is what you need if you're gonna make it work. And how much of this is character formation? How much of it is studying without fatigue and never getting tired of learning the Dharma? Listen, they draw near wholesome teachers, ever take delight in the Dharma, seek learning without satiation, properly contemplate in accord with the Dharma they hear, their minds free of reliance and attachment. They crave neither profit nor fame nor respect from others. They don't seek the necessities of life, but only bring forth the precious thought of Bodhi without tiring. They seek the stage of omniscience and the thus come one's powers, fearlessnesses, and the dharmas special to a Buddha. They seek the paramitas, the dharmas that nourish the way, and are free from flattery and deceit. They can practice what they preach and always guard true speech. They never defile the thus come one's household, never renounce the Bodhisattva's precepts, but bring forth the thought for omniscience as stable as the king of mountains. They do not abandon concern for the world, but can accomplish the path to world transcendence. They accumulate without weariness the dharmas of the wings to awakening and constantly seek the highest and most supreme way. Conclusion. 佛子菩萨成就如是静智地法，名为安住菩萨欢喜地。Disciples of the Buddha, when the Bodhisattvas accomplish such purification and regulation of the stages, they are said to securely dwell on the Bodhisattva stage of happiness. Okay, so looking for teachers, delight in the Dharma, learn without satiation. Once they learn it, they think about it. In accord with the Dharma they hear, they contemplate it, they carry it with them in their minds, day and night. Their minds free of reliance and attachment. Yet at the same time, because it's a Buddhist text, they don't grab onto it. They don't cling to it stiffly. They don't put on a show of learning or contemplating. They're not after profit or fame or respect. Wow, you're such a diligent student. Thank you, I'm busy studying. They don't even care about, they don't go off to accumulate good stuff. Instead, they bring forth that precious thought of Bodhi without tiring, which is what? This is the beginning of the path. The Bodhisattva is just starting out. She has to constantly remind themselves that that potential is present and available. the potential for wisdom. They have within them this ability to perfect their humanity, and stopping with anything less is falling short. It's a hard thought to bring up, this idea that you can become a Buddha. Most of us don't even question what goals we might set, much less set a goal this high. And then there's another key that I'll bring up in just a minute, that is from reading Master Cheng Guan's Avatamsaka commentary. It came clear to me in a new way. I hadn't seen this before. Hang on. As people would say, watch this space, don't go away. They seek the stage of omniscience and the thus come one's powers, fearlessnesses, and Dharma special to a Buddha. That's graduation. They want to get to the Buddha's stage. They seek the paramitas, the dharmas that nourish the way. That's the Bodhisattva's power tools. They don't flatter, they don't deceive anyone to get there. They can practice what they preach. However much they learn, that's how much they do. And however much they get, that's how much they practice. Right? They always guard true speech. They don't retreat from Bodhi. They don't let their precepts go. That's key, because some people will say, oh, Bodhisattva, don't have to follow the precepts, already awake, you can relax a little bit. That would be to defile the thus come one's household. That's tying your shoelaces together and trying to walk. You won't get very far. But they only want to realize their potential. That thought is stable in their minds. They don't retreat from that. They don't, now check this one out. They don't abandon concern for the world. They don't leave living beings behind, but they can still, right in the midst of living beings, accomplish the path to world transcendence. That's the lotus. That's where our symbol comes from. They accumulate without weariness the dharmas or the wings to awakening. That particular list of practices, the Sanshi Daopin, they're called the 37 limbs, that comes back later in the 7th stage. They constantly seek the highest, most supreme way. When you can do all that, when you can become a person like that, soft and gentle, but relentless in your wish to learn, you are said to securely dwell on the stage of happiness. Okay. New territory for today. I wanted to point that out because I hadn't realized that before, hadn't recognized how the sutra at the start is talking about who I am in my character, my attitudes, my approaches to things, and also the importance of the Bodhi Resolve as the source of the Bodhisattva path. Now, why is that so important? We're about to, today we're going to get to the hallmark of the first stage, which is vows, V-O-W-S, to make a vow. And I have to say, I've been surrounded by this culture of Bodhisattva's vows ever since I set foot in Gold Mountain Monastery. But reading the commentary from the Tang Dynasty last night in preparation for today, something connected that I hadn't ever seen before. And it was one line from Master Cheng Guan's commentary. So we are about to launch into vows. And I'll give you my breakdown of it first so you can be listening as we go. I want you to listen for things. We're reading, and there are things to listen for that will pop up that will help us understand. Here we go. We doing good there? Okay. So how important is this Bodhi Resolve in what we've just listened to? There we go, a little bigger there. It is, what it means is that before our cultivator, that could be you, could be me, our practitioner who's been doing mindfulness, who's been doing yoga, who's been looking at their diet, who's been shedding bad habits like profanity or intoxicants or things like that, getting the meat out of their system and the alcohol and the substances, that person, doing a lot of what you call renunciation or sacrifice for their spiritual life, which has now become more important to them than other things. At some point, they make this Bodhi Resolve and say, yeah, I believe deeply that I have this potential in me, and I know that I will become a Buddha when the work of cleaning up my mind, cleaning up my habits, and reforming is done. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. I can set that aside and simply cultivate the methods that help people wake up. I'm devoting my life to service for others. I'm going to become a teacher. I'm going to become a model without even teaching or, sticking my finger in people's faces, giving lectures, not like that. I'm going to, with this search for wisdom that I know that for the Dharma wisdom that will help me, that'll take beings across, right? That'll help me teach them. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to talk about it. If I can talk about it too, that's fine, but I'm going to do it mostly. I'm going to teach by example, because why? Anything else is simply cheating and selling short. The vows that I have made. The Bodhi Resolve says, I will become a Buddha and I will teach living beings. That's how to do it. So once you do that, what happens? The self is gone. The tyrant that has been inside the mind, the negative feedback, the doubts, the critic, the inner critic who's in there giving you lots of nasty little snarky or doubtful or pain-filled or frightened resistance to every wholesome thought you have is accompanied by 2 or 3, you'll never do that. Nobody's never gonna, what if they laugh at you? What? That voice is gone. The dictator, the little tyrant inside, or the wailing sad sack, the cynic, they're all gone. They're not in there anymore because the Bodhi Resolve opens these vows. You say, no, actually, I'm clear about my destination in life for the first time. I know what I'm supposed to do. And more importantly, I found my home in a non-geographical home in the Buddha's wisdom and the community of the Sangha, who are all striving for the same goal. It's the need for home, the need to belong, the need for identity in country here in Australia, that's the word that we use, is finding my tribe based in geographical country. This takes it up a notch and says, my actual home is the Buddhist family. Now, is that abstract? Mostly, until you find fellow Dharma friends who support you, who you support. But it's really the case that once you say, I'm going to take off all the things that obstruct my Buddha wisdom and support and comfort and nourish all of the sad, afflicted, frightened, habituated, addicted living beings of my nature, I'm gonna bring them all home. You become your source, your home wherever that is, your home in the Dharma. Sheng Ru Lai Jia, they say, born in the Buddhist family. So that's a radical notion, sort of, to think about where is my true home. And other people would say, oh, my true home is actually Amitabha's Pure Land. I'm not home until I make it to Amitabha's Pure Land. Well, the Avatamsaka would say, go for it. That's good, but don't go alone. Take everybody with you and bring them home in you. You become the support. You become the refuge. You are the refuge for all those living beings who you take with you to Amitabha's Pure Land. So, okay, I want you to listen to those ideas as we listen to the first stage. And this idea, this is a new one for me. This was a brand new realization as of last night that I hadn't ever thought about before. Vows that bodhisattvas make show that they are still seeking. It was interesting. Let's see here. I've got here is right here. This is Master Cheng Guan's definition. What is a vow? Talk about a vow. 是希求义. It means you're still seeking. You still have something you're looking for. 故下论云发主大愿者随心求义而言大. So when the bodhisattva makes the next stage of our first stage, the next step into our first stage, he makes 10 vows, and they're long. I mentioned last week, this is what's coming up is a long section. And I never thought about it as a vow indicates you're not there yet. Why else would you have to say, I'm going to do this with this powerful thought? It's because there are things you are still seeking. The first stage of the 10 stages has to do with seeking things you haven't got yet. What are they? Well, ask that question in a minute, because we're going to be reciting what the bodhisattva is seeking for. He is at the beginning of his course. He has to get to Buddhahood, and to get to Buddhahood, he has to teach living beings. He has to bring everybody along. He has to find that health, that state of mental health inside his heart that he's not there yet. What does he need to get there? He needs Buddha Dharma, i.e. methods and techniques that will work to cure his pride, to cure his arrogance, to cure his deceitful ways, his habit of covering over, his duplicity, his greed, his anger, his delusion, his doubts, all of those things that are called afflictions. The Buddha Dharma, in all its 84,000 methods, are what it takes. So he is seeking those methods. And what is the Buddha's Sangha throughout history is a community of people who have done exactly that and left a paper trail, taught how to do it because it works. They are all psychotherapists, do-it-yourself, DIY psychotherapists who use the Buddha's therapy to make happy, you could say, to teach and transform all of the twists and turns of their own psyche, to bring out of the shadow in their mind all of those beings who are hiding in there. The ones I'm most afraid everybody will see and laugh at me for, or think I'm less than what I assume I am, right? All these psychological knots that we tie ourselves into, those are the living beings who can be crossed over by the methods of the Buddha Dharma. So that's what the Bodhisattva is about. And a vow means, I know I want those, I don't have them yet. I'm going to go seek. And what does he say? After you make these great vows, you go after what your heart wants. Meaning Buddhahood. That's what I want. And how do I get there? I want to be able to take everyone to nirvana at the same time. To do that, I have to learn a lot. I'm not there yet. I don't know how. Okay, one more thing that came up to me that I hadn't seen before. It's in this is a piece of text from the Avatamsaka Sutra, the commentary and subcommentary. So I wanted to show you right here. He says what? He says, 自未得度，先度他. What is the Bodhisattva? What's unique and what is so remarkable here? He is not enlightened yet. He hasn't gone across, but he is willing, or she is willing, to take others across first. That, when I saw that, just these words right here, 自未度，未得度，先度他. He has not yet crossed over entirely. He will take others across first. This act of saying, you go first, that makes all the difference in the Mahayana and in the Bodhisattva's path. That ability to postpone your salvation, your awakening, for the sake of others, being willing to take others across, is that single moment, is the Bodhisattva's realization. That's the magic of the Bodhisattva's path. And I've heard that, and I've said it from the start, that if there's any single line, like the Wikipedia definition of a Bodhisattva is postpones enlightenment for others. You know, the Bodhisattva could become a Buddha, could realize nirvana. It says, that's wonderful. I would love to retire, you know, I'll just go up to Cairns. I'll, you know, get a boat and patrol the Great Barrier Reef the rest of my life. Kick back and just enjoy life. But he doesn't. Instead, what does he do? He ends pain for others, knowing that liberation for oneself is not the highest goal. That is not the potential that the first part of the Bodhi Resolve showed him was available to him. That's halfway there. So he's not going to cash in early. He's going to continue to practice until all living beings are crossed over. That is special. That particular, here's what the sutra says. For this reason, because the Bodhisattva is willing to go last, so I bow to people who have made that Bodhi Resolve, says Master Cheng Guan. Once you make the Bodhi Resolve, you become the teacher of gods and humans. You are qualified. Once that Bodhi Resolve happens in your mind, once you realize that's your goal and it's attainable to you and how you're going to do it, at this point, you have gone beyond the Shravaka and the Pratyeka Buddha, the sound hearer, the voice hearer, and the conditioned enlightened one. Your resolve, your vow, the vow that you have made is larger, bigger than theirs. 如是发心过三界. With that single thought, you have gone beyond the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm, which is where gods live. That's where devas live. You're gone beyond devas. You're no longer interested in the rewards of heaven. So this is one place where Buddhism and theistic religions, the difference is really clear, right? The goal of the Buddhist practitioner is not heaven. You go beyond. Instead, you become the teacher of those gods because your mind is bigger. You see more, you connect more internally with your own Buddha nature. You can take them across. This is why this Bodhi Resolve is considered the most supreme. Right? So this we're reading text from the Tang Dynasty. This is 1100-year-old text commenting on a sutra text that's 2,500 years ago. And now I'm going to give you a story. Are you ready for a Tang Dynasty joke? This is a story. It's a wonderful story that actually it comes from before the Tang Dynasty, because this is the fun part about learning Chinese and touching these texts. You get to hear jokes that have been around for 1,000 years. Master Cheng Guan passes on a joke that he got from the Dazhi Du Lun. He got it from Kumarajiva Bodhisattva, who, by the way, came from where the Uyghurs are now, interestingly. He's right from Afghanistan, those trade route places. Xinjiang and Afghanistan. Never mind, we won't talk about that now. Here's the story. And the story talks about how supreme is the Bodhi Resolve. You ready? Now get your joke reflex ready. Get ready to laugh. You're going to hear Tang Dynasty humor. Okay, here it is. Gu shami fa xin zhe, qi zhi du lun, zhi lun wen. So what was it like when the new novice made the Bodhi Resolve? Here's a story from the Mahaprajna Paramita Shastra by Nagarjuna and by Kumarajiva. The story goes like this. I'll give you the background. Here is an arhat who is the Shifu, and following behind him is the novice, the Shramanera, who's his student. They're walking along the road. And the arhat has the ability to read minds. He knows what his novice is thinking. He's got the Ta Xin Tong, the ability to read others' minds. Okay. Shiyo Lohan Lingi Shami. In the past, there was an arhat who was walking along with his Shramanera novice. Shi Chi Yibo, the novice had the job of holding the arhat's robe and bowl. He was the servant, so he was carrying the baggage. He was carrying the baggage for the arhat. Shami Hufa Da Putishin. At that point, the novice had this Bodhi Resolve in his mind. The Shramanera suddenly thought, you know, I could be a Buddha. I could become a Buddha. And I have to take living beings across to do it. Okay, I want to do it. I want to become a Buddha. Lohan Shinzhi, the arhat, knew that this thought had arisen. The bodhicitta had arisen in the mind of the novice. Bian Qu Yibo Ling Qi Qianxing. What did he do? He took the baggage from the novice. He said, here, I'll carry it. You walk in front. And he walked behind his novice student. So here's the novice walking along in front now, a little confused about why suddenly his teacher took the robe and bowl and made him go forward. And as he was walking, he looked and saw all kinds of insects on the ground, lots and lots and lots of beetles and bugs and butterflies. And in his mind, he thought, wow, so many living beings. 难可化度, how hard it will be to teach them and take them all across. 便退大心. And on the spot, as he saw the number of insects, and he thought, nah, never mind that Bodhi Resolve. That's too hard. That's really too hard. Lohan Jiling Chechi Yibo. The arhat took the baggage, handed it to the novice, Ling Zai Ho Xing, and said, you walk behind me. Shami Wen Shi. The novice said, Shifu, why are you pushing me in front and then in back? Why are you taking the baggage and then giving it back? Shi Ju Da Yun. The teacher said, Rufa Da Xin Ji Shi Lohan So Gui Jing Chu. When you made that Bodhi Resolve, you personally became the place of refuge for all arhats in your person. Gu Tui Yu Qian. So that's why I put you in front. I could take refuge with you. Ru Ho Ji Tui Puti Zhi. And then later you retreated, you regretted and repented of your Bodhi Resolve. Gu Shi Fan Fu. You just became a normal person with that thought. Bu He Ju Wo Sheng Ren Zhi Qian. So you shouldn't walk in front of an arhat at that point. Ru He Xia Jie Nan. So that is the story, and we get that by way of the Tang Dynasty reinterpreting a text that was from the 4th century. So Tang Dynasty jokes, you don't get to hear them every day, boy. I didn't hear any guffaws from here in the outside. That's all right. It's a subtle kind of humor. So what we get next, we get the 10 vows that the Bodhisattva makes. And let's look at them. Here they come. Not you. Don't want you up next. Want you. There we go. First one. 佛子菩萨住此欢喜地，能成就如是大誓愿，如是大勇猛，如是大作用。所谓生广大清净决定劫，以一切供养之具，供敬供养一切诸佛，令无有余，广大如法界，究竟如虚空，尽未来际，一切结束，无有休息。Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas who dwell on the stage of happiness, are able to accomplish such great vows, such great vigor, such great efficacy. That is, they bring forth vast, great, pure, decisive understanding, and use many items to make offerings and to worship all Buddhas, omitting none, vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of the future, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease. This pattern repeats now 10 times. First one is about offerings. And it's, again, one of the most surprising things that I heard when I first arrived at Gold Mountain Monastery was this notion of making offerings, of presenting things, of giving to establish a relationship with a superior being. We can talk about that maybe next week, just to remind everybody about giving in Buddhism and the relative fields of blessings that come up. This is really interesting because with great compassion as foremost, you would think that giving would always be to somebody who needed a necessity, like food or shelter, medicine, etc. And there's a lot of that, but not to the needy per se, and yet it's not clear either. The fields of blessings that the sutra talks about are, number one is parents, number two is the sick. Those are supreme fields of blessings, but that's not what's talking about here. What we see in the Avatamsaka over and over again are people below, with it's the standard for judging who is the giver, who's the receiver, is your wisdom, how much merit and virtue you have. So the Buddha's field of blessings is one that everybody wants to plant. Everybody wants to give to the Buddha. Bodhisattva's field of blessings, Buddhas don't give to bodhisattvas, bodhisattvas give to Buddhas, but lower bodhisattvas give to higher bodhisattvas as well as to Buddhas. Arhats give on up like that. There's, and devas, for example, one of the best categories of beings giving constantly are devas, the gods. They have so much stuff. Gods have beautiful flowers, beautiful music, beautiful incense, beautiful clothes, beautiful lamps, and architecture. They have beautiful pagodas and viharas and trees and bells and all of these things that gods have the best of for pleasing the senses. Once you get beyond the three realms, your senses, you don't need, it's different at that point. You can make bodies appear left and right as you choose at that point. But for all those beings still with the six senses functioning, devas have the best stuff. Their music must be just, sublime. Occasionally it breaks through into our hearing spectrum. We have the music of the spheres and the music of planets, Holst and his Mars suite and Venus suite, such things. We hear, and occasionally, I can actually play a melody on a banjo that's supposed to be a deva's melody. That's said to be, in the tradition, said that somebody went to the heavens, heard that melody, and brought it back. Some ancestor who had that ability. So, neither confirming nor denying the reality of that being a deva's tune. The idea is devas make good offerings because they offer up those blessings. And it's such a pervasive idea that many of the paintings of Buddhist scenes, many of the Buddhist sculptures or the frescoes, things you see at Dunhuang, which were on the Silk Route, the caves in the sand where these beautiful images are preserved, they show gods, devas, making offerings all the time. So here's a bodhisattva's offering. As I said, this was all new to me, this idea that this kind of relationship was happening constantly between different Dharma realms, right? The Dharma realm of gods, humans, sound, voice hearers, Prachika Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddha, all the time. Look at what we got. They make a vast, great, pure, decisive understanding and use lots of stuff to worship, meaning offer to all Buddhas, omitting none. They always do it. So what do Buddhas want? They want the offering of Dharma most, not material things. They will allow us to make material things because it gives us blessings when we part with our hard-earned, priceless wealth, put it in front of them. But that's not what they want, as according to the tradition. What Buddhas want is, first of all, it shouldn't break precepts. It shouldn't be a duck and some white wine. We knew we were, remember in Jakarta one day, going into what was called the Sanbao Jiao, the three jewels temple in Jakarta, just to look around. And the three jewels, the Sanbao Jiao was Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism together, the Chinese temple. And they thought, you get more if you put the three religions together. And there on the altar was ducks, pan-fried red ducks, just all whole, ready, and great bottles of baijiu, of Maotai whiskey, Chinese beverage that's almost half alcohol. And just something about it, not knowing the teachings even, you could get a sense that this was appealing to that getting drunk and killing chickens, killing ducks was not the highest path to liberation, because there's a lot of suffering in getting drunk and killing. So anyway, so there we were. And some things, as long as the offerings don't break precepts, as long as they are harmless, not harmful to your brain on alcohol or to the lives of other fellow beings, then it's an okay offering. And flowers, a bouquet of dandelions is a wonderful offering when offered with sincerity to the Buddhas, So here's the Bodhisattvas emphasizing the first thing that they want to do to get on the path, constantly make offering. This gets emphasized and pointed out in the Universal Gateway chapter, the Pumanpin, the Universal Door chapter of the Lotus Sutra, where the Bodhisattva who's busy doing the giving his name is Infinite Resolve. Infinite Resolve Bodhisattva makes an offering to Guan Yin Bodhisattva of an incredible set of beads, a necklace with beads on a string. And Guan Yin says, no, thanks. Nope. And no, please take it. On behalf, not for me, but for everybody. And on behalf, because we want to make this offering. Guan Yin says, no need. And the Buddha says, you should take it. It's okay. You can take it for them. Let them plant blessings. Guan Yin takes it, divides it in half, and gives one half to the Buddha, one half to the stupa of many jewels to Tathagata. So, okay, I'll accept it. It was in Guan Yin's hands for 30 seconds as he made 2 strings of it and gave it away immediately. He, the Guan Yin Bodhisattva, who is already a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, a leader among Bodhisattvas, in turn makes an offering. Does he want this stuff? Doesn't want the stuff. He wants to use it for its value in creating blessings by planting it in a field of blessings. Interesting way to approach material stuff, isn't it? The value of things is the goodness they can create, not the thing itself. Something priceless, offer it up and transfer that merit, the goodness, from giving to others. Why? There's an unspoken secret in all of this, which is what? When we give, we are giving a piece of ourself away. When we're giving to spiritual beings, we are letting go of a piece of something we don't want. The ego, the me and the mine that wants the stuff that belongs to the me. So by giving, we're giving away something that covers the nature, completely consistent with the Bodhi Resolve. The thought that stinginess, I want it, it's mine. I can't give it all away, I'll die. I won't exist. Bodhisattva says precisely, exactly why we want to give away more. Because the stuff covering over the living beings, covering over the Bodhi Resolve, the Buddha nature, can do just fine without that. In fact, you're closer to the clarity of your wisdom without it. So our Bodhisattva doesn't care about necessities. He has food sufficient to stave off hunger, clothing for the seasons, shelter and medicine when he's sick or she's sick. Enough. So giving, yeah, that's the first vow. To do it how? Vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of the future, throughout all number of eons, without cease. That's how the Bodhisattva does it. These lines here, I've got next week, I'm going to read the vows with all of you and then ask you to sing along with me, the refrain. And I think it's going to be fun. Let's see here. Here we go. We've got a simple melody. We're going to go vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. It's we're still putting it together, but it's fun because it's a refrain. And I think it's the kind of thing that you can carry with you outside the Buddha Hall or wherever you're listening today to the lecture. And you kind of walk with it. And it definitely expands the mind. It goes, 广大如虚空, 广大如法界, 究竟如虚空, 尽未来际, 一切结束, 无有休息. Right? Vast, great like the Dharma realm, ultimate like empty space, ending boundaries of future time through all eons in number, without ever resting, without cease. That is key, as we found out earlier. That's key to the sutra, which is keep doing it without getting tired of it. Mostly we get tired of it. We go, I don't want to practice any more of that Zen archery. I've got a burn on my forehead and my fingers are all ripped up because and I'm holding it and I'm trembling, I'm out of here, And the Bodhisattva goes, not yet, not yet. 10 more. So there we go. By golly. So it's I'm doing something I didn't plan to do, which was I thought we were just going to read, but it's so good to go back over it and to uncover with the second read through things that I forget what I said back 11 years ago, 12 years ago when we first touched this, but it's so rich with goodness to explain our school, our path, and point out how special that is. In responding to a friend who had just written a new book on Buddhism, I dug up an essay that was written in 2011 about who's got the true Buddha. A scholar investigated the claims that, this school's sutras are older. This is the original Dharma. It all went back to one point. And the Mahayana came hundreds of years later. So if we really want to understand the Dharma, we got to go read Pali. And the article that I found says that's a dead theory. Nobody anymore who knows the truth of how the Buddha Dharma developed says such things anymore. It's simply not true. From a variety of points of view, and we won't go into it now because it's worth hearing the whole argument. But what scholars, one particular Paul Harrison, who's currently at Stanford, says that all the different traditions of texts developed like streams coming out of a wetland. If the wetland was the Buddha's wisdom, all the different schools flowed at once. And it was much more like who in your monastery was interested in the Bodhisattva path, who was interested in personal salvation, liberation, and awakening, who was interested in Mantrayana and esoteric teachings, and who was interested in the precepts. They all existed together. And to try to assume and claim that there was one source that then developed, and after argument developed like that, that's a view of Buddhist history propagated in the West before we knew what we know now. Now we have more languages, more tools. We have sutras in English and other languages that allow us to make a different conclusion. So If you say, who's got the true Buddha? The answer is probably all of us. But who's a Buddha yet? Look at your resolve. Who's a Buddha? Who has made the most of what you know about Buddha's history? Well, the answer is check your Bodhi Resolve. How close are you to taking all those living beings across? Indeed. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, with 1 minute to go, I'd like to invite Jin Chuan or Jin Wei Shi to tell us what's going on at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery.
Amitofo. Well, the schedule actually is more or less the same. We have our regular program starting at 4 a.m. And then we have our meditation at 6:15. And then 7:15, we have universal well-being chant and Dharma reflection. 7:30 to 8, we have 3 steps, 1 bow. And actually, I should change that on the website. Our recitation has now moved up to 12 to 12:30 p.m. because Dharma Master Jingfo has English class at 12:30.
Oh.
So we moved that up. Evening ceremony and mantra heart on our regular schedule. Other than that, the evening classes are the same. Reverend Sure Saturday night lecture right now. I think Wednesday we have Stephen Tainer. And then Thursday we have, I think if you listen to Jing Forsher, we have a lecture from the monastery. And on Friday we have the Dr. Verhoeven's class on Avatamsaka Sutra. And that's our weekly schedule. So hope you can join us. Otherwise, wish you a good evening. Amitofo.
Okay, Amitofo. Great. Now, where do you find all that? Go to berkeleymonastery.org. berkeleymonastery.org. It's right there on top. Okay. So gratitude to all of the volunteers who helped put this lecture online, those of us here in the Gold Coast who are listening in, and the translators around the world, people who let others know that the Avatamsaka Sutra is available in English, Chinese, Vietnamese, live lectures, looking at the 10 stages chapter of the Bodhisattva path, and trying our best, open to new ways of exploring, new ways of interpreting and understanding. And chance to sing it, chant it, to memorize it, all kinds of approaches that we're using. All righty. We have a new font, by the way. We have a Gandhari Unicode font, which makes the Sanskrit mantra look very spiffy indeed here. This is one of the 84,000 Dharma methods for countering 84,000 afflictions. In this case, it's the affliction of illness. United States is now at 700,000 deaths, which, if I had said that this time last year, people would have thought, what's wrong with that monk? Why is he, yes, indeed. And the suffering in every single one of those people who passed away is nothing that you would want on your person. So for us as Buddhists to have a method that is authentically a Buddhist method based on teachings of the Buddha known as Vaisajiraj Guru, Yao Shifo, Medicine Buddha, we can put our hearts behind this. And when it goes out with good energy from our hearts, there's vibrations. And those vibrations are, the thing about the mantras is they're said to be balanced, and they're generating wholesome vibrations and sounds, which is where real creation happens. So please join me. This is by way of transference. You can send out this goodness wherever you would like it to go, to benefit whoever you would like it to help. Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Asaji Asaji Samudate Swaha Samyak Save that. And I have here whoops, hold on now. I'm looking for, I shouldn't have done that. I removed the two photos, thinking that's where I'll save them. And so I'm going to have you use your imagination as we bow 3 times to the Buddhas. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. See you all next week. Keep Medicine Buddha's mantra moving. Be well.